Uncensored, no holds barred talk. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This is Global Reality Radio Network.
Welcome to another live edition of the Global Reality right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. This is another late night Moonbat edition of the broadcast for you here tonight. And so glad you could join us and be with us here. We're going to get Moonbatty indeed tonight. We've got a lot of news and information to cover with you here. And glad you could join us and be with us. We'd love to hear from you through email this evening as well on the show. globalrealityshow@gmail.com. That's globalrealityshow@gmail.com. That's where you can send in your emails, and we'll address those here tonight. It is Thursday, March 3rd, going into Friday, March 4th, 2011, and it is now 12:55 a.m., and we are live here with you, and we will be discussing various news items tonight. There's quite a bit of interesting news here, actually. I was kind of shocked today. It was like, wow. It seems that we have had a drought almost of any kind of news worth even talking about. But here tonight, I'm happy to report to you that surprisingly enough, we do actually have some decent stuff to cover. Makes it very difficult when to do shows like this when you're trying to focus on information and stuff like that. When the only thing that anybody wants to talk about is cokehead actors. Really? Cokehead actors is the best thing we got to talk about? I don't know, man. I think crackheads, in neighborhoods and crackheads on the streets are much more entertaining and a lot cheaper too, they're not really into $7,000 an hour, prostitutes and $7,000 an hour porn stars and stuff. I mean, you give them a bottle of Cisco and $1 so they can get a hot dog later at the 7-Eleven, they're good to go. And they'll entertain you, for a lot longer, I think, than a crackhead actor will. So my advice to you is if you want entertainment from crackheads, go find yourself a real, actual street living crackhead, not one of these puffed up, priest class, mob class controlled minions who are, put there. I mean, my God, they made that big deal in the media when Charlie Sheen was talking about 9/11, and then boom, look, it happened. See, anybody who believes what that must be a kook and must be into the kind of stuff that asshole is. Well, that's not the case. And if you happen to be listening to this broadcast sometime or at some point, because now the attention has been drawn on the alternative research community by these clowns like Alex Jones and Charlie Sheen, and now they're bringing all sorts of unwarranted and unwanted attention on people like myself and others because, much to your chagrin and much to your probably disbelief, there are many of us out here who are concerned with issues. There are many of us out here who are actually concerned with the state of the world and actually trying to create a revolution of the mind that can hopefully spawn a way to change all this and turn it around for the betterment of humanity, for all people to live on this planet in harmony. These don't seem like core ideas that the people who are following the consensus truth movement, patriot movement, and Alex Jones and loving this whole media spectacle with Charlie Sheen. You know, that's just not what they don't get. So understand that if you're listening to the sound of my voice and you've never heard it before, and maybe you're finding this show because, you know, again, now we have to go start, dredging the sewers for all the people that are into this kind of stuff, so we can see what exactly they talk about and things like that, and then we can bring it to light better. And then once we bring it to light and put our own spin on it, we can then use that to negate people who are putting out information. That's what they're trying to do. This is what they always do. I've talked about this before. They've done this with every single thing that is started out and wasn't created by one of their entities. I mean, it happens every time. It's happened in every field and every walk of life, I'm sure. You know, the proverbial story of, it's always some poor kid that creates some, the world-changing invention, but it's the rich kid who gets the credit for it and gets all the accolades. Same thing. Rich have been doing it to the poor for ages and ages and ages, and it's the same thing that they're doing now. Anytime the people start something that's theirs and belongs to them and doesn't belong to the elite priest class and the people running the show, anytime the people start something for themselves, these jealous people who have no love in their heart and have only hate and distrust and disdain for their fellow man, they come along and try to scoop it up into their mechanisms. And then by the time the story is told, people just assume it's just another marketing scheme or just another trend or a fashion. Well, trying to become an enlightened individual and trying to figure out the secrets of the ages and the secrets of what we truly are and what we're capable of are not anything that can ever be classified as a fad or a trend or anything else. But certainly when you start having people like Spencer Pratt and Heidi Montag on your radio show, which you claim is about exposing the lies and the evil in the world, and yet at a return, you placate and play up to those exact same entities that you define as evil. I mean, my God. I mean, I think it's safe to say now that every single, I would say just about every single element that Alex Jones has ever named as the enemy, he has embraced now, hasn't he? Because, I mean, it was those evil, elite, fascist, Freemason, blah, 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 Borg, elite, New World Order cronies for the longest time. And then, of course, we come to find out that he associates with every single one of those type of people, from his connections with people inside of the Council for National Policy, the John Birch Society, on and on and on. And then now we have the other end of that, which is, he was always constantly yelling and screaming about the distractions of the media and the distraction of Hollywood and how people are obsessed with celebrity. And the guy's talking out of the side of his mouth about people obsessed with celebrity, yet he can't wait every week to get on a plane and go out to California and hang out with Charlie Sheen every couple of weeks and hang out with the Cardinal that him and Mark Dice and Danny Bonadouchebag and the rest of the Vatican assassin warlocks suck Satan's cock. Only a sucker of Satan's cock could be a Vatican assassin warlock. Charlie, you are my bitch. Yeah, I mean, seriously, I'd have to agree with that statement, though. Only Vatican assassin warlocks can truly suck Satan's cock. Yeah, I think we need to put that one on the board for sure. Write it down. Yeah, there you go. That's a truthism. But so I mean, that's the whole thing. Is you had we had the one element before, and of course we've talked about the connection. It's interesting to me that this obsession with celebrity is mirrored also in some of these people, and we'll be talking about this in the Secret Volume 2. It's mirrored with their connections. Well, you have connections like Adani Kashiogi, who we've talked about, who owns a bunch of front companies, said to be the true owner of the Genesis Communications Radio Network. And we have all the evidence that we're going to have in the film on that as well. It's very interesting that he always had this connection of associating with lots of musicians and rock stars and movie stars and things of that nature. And Alex Jones has as well. Alex Jones has talked about, well, he's dropped one time, I'll tell you this, I talked about the connection I had found between Adana Khashoggi and Stuart Copeland, the drummer for the Police, and how he had filmed one of his drumming videos at a ranch that belonged to the Khashoggis. And of course, Queen had a song on their 1989 album called "The Miracle," entitled "Khashoggi's Ship," and you know, he's, oh, we'll all have fun on Khashoggi's ship. I think I've got that somewhere. I haven't ever played that in the bumpers. I should probably play that in the bumpers at some point. But and then of course, what was that old hag's name that was married to Macca for a while? God, what was her name? You know who I'm talking about, though? The one that had half a foot or whatever her name was? I can't remember. The one that took all Macca's money, took like $500 million of his cash. Heather Mills, I think was her name. Heather Mills, yeah. Well, come to find out, Heather Mills was Adana Khashoggi's. Basically, he was her whore. I mean, he paid her to have sex with him for like 10 years. And Adana Khashoggi's secretary actually went on the record because she was responsible for setting up all of the tricks for Mr. Khashoggi. And he had stated many times to his secretary that Heather Mills was his favorite prostitute. And so when she started going out and being married with Paul McCartney, the media all of a sudden was fawning over themselves to tell this story about how she had half a foot. And then she went on the Dancing with the Stars show on ABC, and everybody made a big deal because she was dancing so good and she had half a foot and all this stuff. And they came out with this story. About how she had lost her half of her foot in a motorcycle accident with her boyfriend. Well, come to find out, from what I found, and again, this is rumor and speculation, but it does make a lot of sense in light of what we know. After Heather Mills no longer wanted to sell her vagina for cash, Mr. Khashoggi was not pleased with this, as most of the time Johns aren't when they lose their favorite hoe. You know, what are you going to do? Your hoe says she's got to go, and you're not going to get to tap that ass no more. So what's going to go down? I mean, I don't know. You know, that's the whole thing. So she concocts this story about losing her foot on the motorcycle. Come to find out, the word around the campfire is that Khashoggi cut it off and basically said, you know, you want out. Well, you know, this is how you're going to get out, and cut her foot off. Well, that's an interesting thing because, again, we just have all these connections with the music industry, with Adana Khashoggi, his connection to how he owns all these front companies in Minnesota. Minneapolis, Minnesota, up there, right around where GCN is located at. He had the Genesis Intermedia Company, which published the book by John Gray, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. Mr. Grace went on the record stating that Adana Khashoggi had ripped him off for a bunch of money on that deal. And then not only that, John Gray is also a 9/11 truther. His name is listed on 911truth.com or .org on prominent 9/11 truthers. And he has made many appearances on the Genesis Communications Radio Network. Now, I'd say that's a pretty huge coincidence, don't you think? And not to mention the connections with Khashoggi to Iran-Contra and Larry Pratt and Pat Buchanan, who have had intimate connections to GCN and Alex Jones. And so when I was, I found out that thing about the Stuart Copeland, Donna Khashoggi thing, I recalled that one time there was coming out, this was probably 4 or 5 years, 2007 or so. I think 2007 was the last time I was listening to Alex Jones, besides just some of the clips we hear when he's talking about the CMP. And the only time I listen to that's because people pointed out to me. But they were coming back from a commercial break, and there was a police song playing. And as they were coming back, Jonesy does, he'll sing over the music and stuff when he comes back from a commercial break. And they're coming back from a commercial break, and Jones says, "Oh, I wonder if Sting knows 9/11 was an inside job." Because before that, he'd been talking about that he knew certain celebrities and certain people in the music industry and stuff, like the biggest musicians in the world that were all into his shit and knew about the New World Order and all this stuff and 9/11. And so I thought that was kind of an odd thing. I went, well, what are the odds of that? Because you find this connection with Adana Khashoggi and his connection to GCN and John Gray, and John Gray's been on the Alex Jones show, and Khashoggi fucked him over for putting out his book and all this and blah, 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 blah. He's got all this litigation going on right where GCN is located at. I mean, there's just where there's smoke, there's fire. We have multitudes of connections with this Khashoggi character to people within the Patriot movement, Alex Jones, GCN. It's unbelievable the connections that there are. All out there, all freely available, not secret knowledge or information. It's all stuff that's out there readily available if you go dig and do your own homework. But we're going to have all this in the new film. So I just thought it was an odd thing there that, here's Stuart Copeland, the drummer for the Police, talking about, being at Adana Khashoggi's farm. And then here's Alex Jones on the GCN Communication Radio Network, allegedly owned by Khashoggi, talking about, Sting knowing, I wonder if Sting knows 9/11 was in a touch of, being all sly about it, like hinting around. And so and then now with this abundance of, all this stuff about Charlie Sheen and the rest of this going on, you can always tell when one of these, hell, the Carlyle Group used to ship in little boys and shit for Michael Jackson to have sex with, in exchange for every time that they needed a scandal to steer attention away from what Clinton was doing back in the 90s. Here comes out some scandal with Michael. And in exchange, I don't remember where I read that at. I read that several years ago. I don't know how true it is, but I seem to recall that there were some things there, some information that I saw that did make it pretty definitive that was indeed what was going on. But apparently, from what I understand, yeah, and that's what they'll do with Charlie. Because imagine, you've seen all this stuff going on with Charlie Sheen now. Imagine if he dies. At any point, a week from now, a year from now, it doesn't matter. But the way things are going and the way things are progressing in the news, I see the need for, I definitely saw the need for why they launched this operation right now, most definitely, to distract away from what's going on and to get people to not ask the hard questions about what's going on in the Middle East, to get us to further acquiesce to overinflated everything, overinflated food, overinflated energy, gas, everything. And to keep people's minds away, not from their lives or what should be the most important things at hand for them. No, they're concerned in their talking points, and the things that they're occupying their minds is some cracked out celebrity and some enchilada eating fucking priest class bozo from Austin, Texas. Come on. We are smarter than this. I thought that we were past the point of allowing our minds to go where they want them to go and not where we want them to go. That's what it's supposed to be about. Charlie Sheen wouldn't know the truth if it bit him on his ass. And I'll tell you, because I really wasn't trying to pay attention to this shit, and I went back and watched those videos, where the day when Sheen called in, and that was some weird shit, man. I got to say, that was some fucking bizarre stuff. The look on Jones' face, man. I think after the stuff that came out about the CMP lately, with the clip that we got from In-Game 1.5, I think with that, I think with Iserby coming on, and then Schlafly and all this stuff happening. He really struck me as a man who was following orders. You could just see it on Jones' face. He looked real uncomfortable. And Charlie's dropping F-bombs, and, he's saying fuck this and fuck that and bullshit this and pussy that and all this stuff. And he kept dropping that, that Vatican, we're Vatican assassin warlocks thing. And I noticed that every time he would do it, Jones would get mega uncomfortable. And Jones does this thing sometimes where he kind of raises his head and he laughs real hard. He's like, and it's like a nervous tick thing. And I've seen him do it for years in some of his older video. And people bring up certain stuff, and he just kind of, he blushes and kind of gets in. Every time Charlie would say something about, Vatican assassin warlocks, Jones just had this look on it, like scared. He would try to downplay it every time. He go, oh well, that's a running joke we have. I always tell Charlie that people say that. It was like, I'm like, okay, well, obviously, I think any person at all would think that Charlie was joking. I think your average person's first response wouldn't be like you and I, where we think, wait, he's really telling the truth. Here's what he's doing. But Jones felt the need every time that he would say it to point out that it was a joke or some inside joke, and I just thought that was odd. I was just kind of like, well, wait a minute, why point that out? Why are you trying to be so crystal clear with everybody that Charlie is making a joke there? But yet the other 5 million other fucked up ass drug addled fucking God knows what that was coming out of his mouth, Jones didn't say anything about. I mean, every time he'd be like, I'm going to go set my penis on fire and chop it off and put it in the water while watching Jaws. It's exhilarating. And fucking Jones would be like, folks, Charlie's on fire. He's on fire right now, folks. He's out of control. But every time he said something about Vatican assassin warlocks, he was quick to say, "Oh well, Charlie's just joking there, folks." Okay, no, I mean he doesn't really think we're And I found out I couldn't tell who Nails was, and once I watched the video, Nails is Lynn Dykstra. Oh Jesus Christ! And of course, Lynn Dykstra is a fucking Catholic as well. I mean, these guys, man, Jesus Christ! It's just a big gang. It is mobster shit. I think that's the big secret that I think that's one of the big secrets that they've been hiding a big time. I think it's becoming more and more apparent just how connected. Well, I mean, look at the entertainment industry. Of course, the entertainment industry we know is intimately tied to the Vatican. It's tied to the mob. My God, the chairman of the board himself, man, old Blue Eyes. Frank Sinatra. Frank Sinatra was Sovereign Military Order of Malta, and he was all up in the entertainment industry running shit. I mean, he was the guy that pioneered having your own record label. When they wouldn't do shit his way, I did it my way. When they wouldn't do what old Blue Eyes wanted to do, what'd he do? He said, "Fuck you all, you bastards. I'm going to have another quart of scotch and I'm going to start my own fucking record label. Come on, Sammy, let's go. Bring that fucking glass eye with you. Come on, let's go. Call Dino. Get Dino on the horn. Tell him I got some blow. Come on. Let's go, boys. We got coke to snort over here. Let's go." I mean, it's no different. I mean, all those fucking guys, the Rat Pack guys, those were the Charlie Sheens and, of their day and whatnot. It's no different. It's no different now. But the point of the matter is that people shouldn't be shocked. People aren't shocked when you talk about Frank Sinatra and being in the Knights of Malta and being involved with the mob and running things inside the entertainment industry. But then when you say that Alex Jones and Charlie Sheen and those type of people are involved in that still today in the modern day version of that, and that's intimately tied in with the mob, people don't believe you. And it seems that the Truth Movement, the Patriot Movement, has through the years tried to downplay the involvement of the mob in pretty much every facet of our lives in the United States, or pretty much everywhere, because the mob is whether it be Russian mob, whether it be Italian mob, whether it be some of the Asian mob, the triads, or any of those. These are the mob has always been, because you've all seen Scorsese flicks, right? Well, there's real stuff in those. There might be Hollywood movies, but they're accurate. Well, they always talk about if you were going to be in the mob and if you want to be a boss, they had to be able to trace your bloodlines back to make sure that all of your family came from the old country, right? Well, why do you think that is? That's because the mob at the tip top is made up of people that are of the bloodlines, and so they're the direct strong arm of the bloodlines and the people that are really running the show. Now, you got to forget about left and right and politics and all this stuff when you think about it in these terms. The mob has power. The true mob has power because they are the direct middle management. They are the people that are basically put in charge and ensure that their system goes the way they want it to go. And you'd be a damn fool to think that this stuff isn't ensconced within the truth movement, the patriot movement, and the rest of it. I've seen a lot of indicators towards that. I'm here to tell you right now, that's dangerous information that I bet they don't want anybody to really talk about and know about. But it's a fact. The mobs have infinitely more power, and you never hear Alex Jones talk about that. You know, well, I wonder why. You never hear a lot of these truth or radio shows talk about that. And the mob, especially the Italian mob, the most powerful mob in the world, that they, they're working on direct justification from the Vatican, from the Jesuit order. It's unbelievable, these connections. And of course, a lot of people started to discover this when they started to look into the backgrounds of people that have been associated with the assassination of John F. Kennedy. And when you look at the connections to the assassination of John F. Kennedy to people like George Herbert Walker Bush and the rest of all the right-wingers, the Hunts, John Birch Society affiliation right there. You see where I'm going with this? You start to see that, oh, wait a second here. This explains the mob connection to Jack Rubenstein, the Jew, who was their gopher. See, there again, mob, Jew, Italians, Catholics, Jesuits, John Birch Society members, all working in collusion yet again. What makes you think for a damn minute, especially with the connections we already know about Alex Jones, that this is exactly what's going on now? These guys, these conspiracy guys, have been covering up for years, and I'm talking about them all. And you know me, those of you that have listened to me for the longest time. I mean, no disrespect when I say this. I mean, Jim Marr's book, when I read it when I was 16, 15, woke me up to all this stuff. But I'm here to tell you right now, ladies and gentlemen, I cannot deny as a person and as a researcher that all of the people that were the reason why I got into this have been covering up the truth about the Kennedy assassination and who has really been behind it. They've all been gatekeepers. Jim Marrs, every one of them. Because they have never fingered the true involvement and the true people that were behind this. And these are elements that relate to the Vatican, to the Jesuit order, through the John Birch Society, through the Hunts. That's why these people have been put out there. But when you look at all the heads of the FBI, all the sacred cows that came out of the OSS that became Sovereign Military Order Malta members by decree of the Vatican when they started the CIA, so that they could do the bidding of the Vatican and be able to operate any country with impunity and never be brought to justice. Why do you think Kissinger and all these clowns that are Sovereign Military Order Malta have never been brought to justice for their crimes? Because they can. When you become a Sovereign Military Order Malta, you can do anything free of justice. That's why they let Oliver North off, Sovereign Military Order Malta. He was doing the work of the powers that be. So any laws or anything like that were broken were arbitrary. It's like the hand of God. That's what they give you. And that's who Kennedy got rid of, man. When he threatened to splinter the CIA into 1,000 pieces, he fired every single... I mean, all the motherfuckers he got rid of were all fucking Vatican-owned stooges. All of them. They were all Knights of Malta. These are people that were working. You can understand the people that most likely the people that killed John F. Kennedy didn't want to do it. And didn't really have. They may have got some brainwashed lackeys to do the dirty work. But what I'm saying is that this was an order that came up from on high. And the stooges that they got, the compartmentalization that they got to do it and pull off the actual dirty work on the ground down. I mean, that's easy. You know, that's easy to do. But that seems like that's what everybody wants you to always focus on when you're talking about JFK research. And I've been into JFK research longer than I've been into anything else. And so I have more experience with that topic, that and 9/11 and Freemasonry. Those are about my big three. Well, now after 4 years of CMP work, add that one into the hat. But my core issues before I got into the CMP stuff, when I first came on air in 2007, were about secret societies, Freemasonry, 9/11, and of course before that, Kennedy assassination. That was always the big one for me. But it's just staggering now to see that that these same entities, I never thought that when I first started finding out about the CMP stuff that all that my JFK stuff would come back and I would realize that all this is interconnected. They created the entire conspiracy genre to create scapegoats and patsies and Oswalds for not just one event like the Kennedy assassination or 9/11 or anything else, but for the whole thing. For everything that has happened and probably will happen on this earth for the past 5,000 years. I hope you understand that's how deep this is. I mean, they created all of this. They created the conspiracy movement. They created the truth movement. They did that by proxy through the Jesuit order, through the John Birch Society, by having, of course, all the heads of the John Birch Society, all Jesuit trained. They did this so that they could give the people the feeling that they had a chance against the tyranny that they were inherently going to know was upon them. But they had to preemptively create that, especially after, and you saw the rise of the John Birch Society and the whole thing after the rise of the League of Nations. And when the League of Nations was being brought about, that was when people first started talking about this idea of a one world government. And so once they started bringing about, and that was really when that was their first attempt to bring in one world government. And that was when they started formulating the John Birch Society. You started seeing people that were like Tim LaHaye and others that were preachers. All of a sudden, you know, they're political experts and involved in political stuff when they've never been involved in political stuff very much. You see that a lot when it comes to this. And they created this whole cloth, created this subgenre. Now that most of us out there, when we first got into, thought was legitimate. And now the evidence, because, you know, that's the whole thing is, you know, people like Alex Jones would always say, you know, do your own research, do your own research. And I think me and a handful of you out there were probably some of the only people that really have done our own research. I have. That's all I do. It's all I've done for a great amount of years now. And you know, it could probably be easily said that I'm wasting my life away doing this. But I don't feel like I have anything else I can do. Because the things that I've learned since I have been doing this, I wouldn't trade for anything. The knowledge and the understanding that, and the grasp that I feel that I'm starting to get for this stuff, is not something that could be done quick or easy or anything else. And I feel like that's really the importance of my show and my work now, is because now that I've realized exactly what's going on and what has been going on, and understand this a great deal more than I did when I first started on air, it gives me the ability to be able to help you all, the listeners, and the supporters of our broadcast be able to fast track your understanding a lot quicker than you would have probably if my show wasn't here. You know, because the things that took me, a hardcore researcher, years and years and years to find out have been exponentially increased because of the fact that, you know, again, as I've stated many times, every day you have to gut up and get up here and basically perform. It's very difficult to want to gut up and get up every day and perform, and everybody wants new material all the time, you know. And but that forces you into constantly staying on top of everything. You have to learn more new stuff because, you know, my livelihood depends on it. This is my livelihood. This is what I do. I've chosen to, once I discovered what my path in life was, I chose to do that. And I haven't turned back since I decided that. And regardless of, you know, anything else, I've had to stick with it because I know it's my path, and it showed me time and time and time again, endlessly, that it's my path. So it's what I have to do. And the universe definitely shows you that it's your path once you get a good idea of what it is. It shows it to you. It verifies it for you, and it will certainly verify it for you as well if it's not. That's another thing I've learned. Unbelievable stuff, man. It really is. This, although I didn't want to admit this to myself any more than anybody else, but yeah, they created the whole thing. That's what the Juju stuff has been about. When, you know, my God, their middle management for a much higher power. This stuff is so dark and so deep. That I think that even if every single living man, woman, and child on this planet knew the truth tomorrow, there'd probably only be about 40% of us left by the next day. I think there'd be lakes and oceans filled up with dead bodies, but people would just be killing themselves left and right. I really do. I really believe that. When you really find out the controlling power of the world are the people who claim to have a direct line to the big man upstairs himself, and that's what they claim, and they act on behalf of the big man upstairs, God, on behalf of God, they to the people, and these are the people that control everything, and all the lies and the wars and everything are about keeping their power in place. Most people are not ready for that. Most people are not ready for this information. I mean, if the elite want to run a eugenics op, the best eugenics op, I'm going to give you one. You boys make sure you quit fucking with my radio show and my network and my website and my computers at home if I give you one. But I'm going to give you one. Here you go. You ready for this? Here you go, boys. Pay attention, NSA. Put your ears on. You want to put this in a memo. Make sure this gets to the guys upstairs in the, that room. I always envision the room that in Network where he walks in, like the Illuminati fucking corporate headquarters. I just always imagine that. It was so perfect in that movie. That's what I always envision. Like, you get brought up to the top office tower to meet with the Illuminati guy. It's fucking Ned Beatty and, behind some long ass table, you have meddled with the primal forces of nature. Oh man, I can't remember what I was going to say now. But yeah, it's this crazy stuff, man. But we're going to take a break, come back, and get into some more news, more information for you here tonight. GlobalRealityShow@gmail.com. It's GlobalRealityShow@gmail.com if you want to send me some emails. I'm going to talk about it here tonight. Go right ahead. Back here with you on the Global Reality, right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. Thank you for being with us. And this is Late Night Moonbat edition for you here, and we're going to be getting into more news and information for you on the broadcast tonight. Love to hear from you as well. GlobalRealityShow@gmail.com. That's GlobalRealityShow@gmail.com. I'll be getting into some email questions as well for you here tonight on the broadcast. we just had to pay the bills for the month. So, ouch. Right in the keister. But nonetheless, we have the chip and banner there for the bills for the month. And we also have the donate button there for films and for any donation of people out there who have large donations they want to make, or anybody out there would like to make a larger donation, 1,000 or 2,000 or whatever. It doesn't matter, whatever you want to do. And that's where the donate button is for. If you want to do that for films or for help us grow, buy more equipment. My computer, my old quad core is on its third year now. I can't believe it. Normally my computers last about 2 years. I can't believe this thing's still kicking over here. But that helps us buy more equipment and things for the films, and a lot of the more recent acquisitions we've been able to make have been as a result of some of our supporters and people out there helping us. And we're definitely have come a long way. But there's always more things that we could be doing, and a lot more to be done after the Super Route Volume 2 is coming out. I plan on coming out with at least one, if not two, more films this year alone. So y'all better get ready. I got some shit. I got some shit. Well, because when you spend so much time on one film and then you're researching all this other stuff. I've just got material till the cows come home. I'm ready to start cranking a bunch of stuff out. Because these long projects, especially with something that's as topical and as hot as the stuff with the CMP is, to the point where, there's just new information. There's new stuff coming out every single day that I'm working into the film. As I always try to do that. I always try to work stuff, to the moment that the film is being done. I work if it's coming out, I'll work it into it. But this thing's just turned into it's just so much work, man. I told myself after I got done with Volume 1 of The Secret Right that if I would have known it was going to be that much work, that I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have done it. And I'm a fucking glutton for punishment because I've got myself. I bit off one more than I can chew, man. I'm one person. I don't have a fleet or a team of people. I don't have anybody help me. I do all this stuff myself. Do all the radio show myself. Do all the news gathering. Do all the research, all the editing, all the music, all the voiceovers. Then once you do voiceovers, then you have to go back and you have to edit all those individually to take out breaths and take things. And it's just, so it's constantly, and it doesn't give you a lot of time to go outside, chained to the computer all the time, man. It wears on you after a while. But anyway, nonetheless, please support our work and what we're doing. We keep it commercial free here for you. And we are keeping it pushing forward into the future. So thank you so much to everybody out there. Let's see what we have here tonight for you in the realm and scope of email. Hey, thanks for doing another excellent show. Love the late nights. Have you had a chance to see the new Secret Space documentary by Chris Everard? He was on the Truth Frequency show 2 weeks in a row. Yeah, that's exactly why I hadn't had him on. Great interview with Chris. Talked about false patriots, gold scam, hallucinogens, as currency, DMT, etc. Don't know how you feel about Truth Frequency Radio. I'm not a fan, but Chris was great. Yeah, I don't know. I gave those folks the benefit of the doubt over and over and over again. They had me on. They were going to have me on, and then they hem-hawed around, and then they canceled it, and they put it to another date, and then I accepted that, and then finally, once we got ready to do the show, it was supposed to be me. I was going to come on for like an hour, and then I was going to sit in with them or something, and it was going to be on there. And lo and behold, right when the show started, they saddled me with some goofball. I don't know who the fuck this guy was. He had no business being on radio. He was just patently getting things wrong. And so I thought it was very unfair. I've never been treated like that by anybody who's ever asked me to come on their show. And it seemed very, very amateurish to me, and also very rude to ask a researcher like myself who barely has enough time on the allotted time that you have on these shows, especially with commercials and everything else, to get out the information that's important. And then you saddle me with some goofball who walks all over me doesn't let me make a point. Every time I try to get to a point or make a point, this fucking goofball who didn't know what the fuck he was talking about would fucking, start talking. It was horrible. It was horrible. It was one of the worst experiences of doing a radio show that I've ever had. And then later on, they asked me to come back on again. And I said, okay. And then there was some dick cheesing around going on there, and they had to cancel again. And you understand, I'm a busy person. And in order to schedule a time, I haven't even had a time to schedule going on with Lee. I've been supposed to go on with Lee Rogers for the past couple of weeks. But I've had to put it off with him because I've got too much other shit going on, man. I couldn't do it. I would try to do it next week and get on there with Lee for 3 hours again. But, I kind of have to schedule my life around these shows. And so when you cancel on me, you very well could have put me in a position where, and I think that's what happened. I can't remember. It's been 8 or 9 months since that happened. But, yeah, I think in that case, there was something where I wanted to go to, or something that I'd been in, a music event or an art event or something that everybody I knew was going to. And I had to basically stay home by myself and not go out on Saturday night to do this radio show. And then Dick Cheese cancels on me, 10 minutes before the show starts. So I don't know, man. I mean, maybe they're good. Maybe they put out some good info. Hey, yeah, I don't know. I just, I wouldn't go on that show again if they fucking asked me. And that's for damn sure. They probably wouldn't ask me because, well, frankly, I expose a lot of their sacred cow. To me, they seem like they're still in that sort of sacred cow, mentality of researchers and stuff. And, I've interviewed Tassarian 5 or 6 times, talked to him off air many times. I think Tassarian's a great guy. I think he's real. I think he's one of the few people I'll say that about. I've had on Everard too a couple times and talked to him off air several times. I've had Jim Mars on a few times and talked with him several times. Basically, I've interviewed David Icke. I interviewed Eustace Mullins, for God's sakes. I've interviewed, Anthony J. Hilder. I interviewed him. Pretty much, just about every single person I think I've ever wanted to interview, I've actually had a chance to interview. So, I don't know. That's kind of what they seem like to me. But anyway, the whole reason I haven't had Chris Everard on is, because he seems to be a recurring guest on that show. And I thought, well, if he's just going to go on there and come on my show and say the same shit he's already said and people have already heard, then there's no point in me trying to get him on. As far as his new film, the new Secret Space documentary, haven't seen it. I have in the past many times. Well, I think one of them he sent me for free. I think I think it was like Illuminati 3. Chris Everard sent me for free, but the rest of them I paid for. $30 a pop or whatever it is, and then he puts that weird shit or whatever it is on this worm code, where it says like it encodes your DNA resonance into every copy you make, or some fear mongering shit like that. I mean, has anybody ever seen that? I don't know. That seems shady to me. I like Everard a lot. I think he's a great researcher and a great guy. I've talked to him many times. I don't have anything bad to say about the guy at all. But that worm code thing is weird. And in the whole thing about how he has this collection of Illuminati grimoires and all this stuff, and I don't know, man. I have a problem with the fact that he claims to spend all this money on, and wonder where he's getting the money from on all of these, but yet he's worried about people making copies of his films. And he claims that people have made copies of his films and edited out certain things out of them. I don't know. I don't know how much I believe that. But my thing about it is I'm trying to get my own movie out. I'd love to see his new Secret Space documentary, but the fact of the matter is, I'm going to be 100% honest with you, because it's the same way with people when it comes to my films. I mean, we'll put $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 into a film and make back the cost of what we spent to have the DVDs printed, literally. I'm sure that's going to happen again. I don't have any illusions that we're going to make anything back on the new movie either. And that's kind of what you enter yourself into when you get into this. This thing about putting, worm code or whatever this stuff is into into your DVDs because, you know, people making copies or whatever. I just had to flat patently disagree with that. And I think it's kind of, I think it's kind of hypocritical to, you know, make a Facebook post about, which Chris Everard did, about how Jonesy tried to pump him for $5,000 to promote his DVD, which I don't doubt. And I don't see I don't think that's right. And, you know, especially anything that comes to Jonesy, you know, I'll be the first to call that out. But at the same time, it does seem a little bit hypocritical that you would have a problem with Jonesy asking you for $5,000 to promote a DVD when, hey, dude, you know, you're not. These movies are documentary films. There's this thing where, and you enter into this, and it sucks because it's the only. For instance, if no filmmaker in their right mind would make films on the budget I make them on, for the hours it takes me to do them, and for the money that you make, but not a soul, not a single one of them. I've talked to directors and I've talked to people, you know, who are involved in film and at high levels, and I've met through the years. I've met several people there. I've met Darren Aronofsky. He's a cool guy. I've met what's his name? George Costanza. I met him one time. He really knew a lot about film and stuff. But you know, you just no, but you don't expect that you don't expect to make anything. It's nonprofit educational purpose things, which is exactly why that we're able to have. Well, for instance, in my films and in Lee's films, we buy these news clips from the news archive and we use them. You know, you get a lease and we use them and stuff like that. But you have to pay for them, and you can't get them anywhere else. But the whole thing about fair use comes into play, and where you're able to have fair use. Because I mean, I've seen things that are in Everard's films that would qualify as copyright infringement, straight the fuck up. You know, clips from mainstream Hollywood movies like Eyes Wide Shut and stuff like that, you know. Because if you're gonna have it where people can't make copies of your DVDs, and everyone does do that, allegedly because, you know, of his monetary concerns. But that was a big wake up call for me. I realized that when I made my first film, that okay. Because I thought the same thing. I thought, okay, well, I'm gonna put $5,000 into this movie, and then I'll make $10,000 back or $20,000 back, and that'll fund the next one. And that's just not the reality of it, because for some people have this built up thing in their minds that because you do movies that are in this genre, that it all has to be for free. And so there's this inescapable thing where what I generally do is I'll put my movie up for free after it's been out or available to buy for like 2 weeks, you know, and then still people bitch, but I think that's fair. I think it's fair to you. I think it's fair to me. And it's fair to the people that pre-order the movies and stuff like that. But, you know, it's a double-edged sword, because then if you don't put your movie out where people can see it, then a lot of times it won't get seen because, you know, you have the ability to reach so many thousands of people with YouTube and things like that, and pass it around very quickly. But if you're just relying on your movies to get out there by DVDs, you're gonna reach a smaller amount of people. But I guess, you know, you can keep your bottom line intact. I guess that's just not a business model I choose. And the business model I choose is not smart either. It's basically to be broke all the time and not have any extra cash for myself or for anything, and be basically shoestringed all the time to do this. But again, that's a choice. It's the kind of choice that most of us don't make enough in life. And I'm not tooting my own horn or anything, but I'm here to tell you, you know, I do, regardless of what these clowns out there think about me, I do practice what I preach. Otherwise, I wouldn't be up here saying it. You know, the whole thing about, you know, the idea that, well, I mean, for instance, I can't just go watch Chris Everard's Secret Space documentary right now if I wanted to, even though it's out and it's been out for a while now. Why? Because my thing about it is, and that's why I don't get into the whole piracy bullshit and all that stuff. If I like something, if you put out a quality product, quality piece of music, a quality film, and it really resonates with me, I will buy it. I will. Even if I've downloaded it for free, I will go buy the actual copy of it. If it's something I really like. The problem is that the majority of stuff that comes out, whether it be mainstream or underground or independent, or truth movement, it's shite. Most of it. It's utter fucking shite. It's just, that's where the whole crap of this, they're making us go bankrupt because of piracy and torrents and all this stuff. No, you motherfuckers bankrupted yourself long ago when you bankrupted your morals. It started force feeding us garbage in, garbage out. That's the problem. People are sick and tired of buying your garbage. So they can get your garbage for free instead of having to pay for your garbage. Well, free garbage is better than garbage you had to pay for now, isn't it? So that's the whole thing. If movies and films were about broadening your understanding of things, if they were really truly about what the true expression of art is supposed to be about, then everybody would be willing to pay for that. People never had a problem with that before now, did they? But that's what they're using as the scapegoat, as the excuse for continuing to pump the minds of everybody in the world full of just absolute crap and garbage. And we just eat it up with a spoon, don't we? Oh, we love it. Oh, tastes so good. Give me another spoonful of that shit. Sprinkle a little garbage on top of it. Yeah, garbage flavored shit on ABC at 8 p.m. is my favorite show. The only thing I like better than that is NCIS flavored garbage shit that comes on Friday nights. That's my other show I can't miss. Yeah, but that's really what it is. It's shit sprinkled with garbage. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, I'm going to be doing stuff like that. Yeah, we'll be doing the digital download stuff. Yeah, but I'm not talking about me and what I'm doing. I'm more talking about Chris Everard here. Because the question was, have I seen Chris Everard's new film? And I haven't. And I would like to see it. And I would probably talk about it here on air and talk about it being a great film. Like I always have. I've given him, he's used quotes from things I've said about his films on his movies on his website before. It's pretty funny. One of them I think was a little bit stretched, but that's okay. As long as you spell my name right. I one time I had said that Secret Space 2 was was my favorite documentary of all time. I think Everard kind of took that and twisted it and put it on his website on a banner, and it said, "The greatest documentary filmmaker of all time." And then had my name under Josh Reeves. And I was like, I have a pretty good memory. I don't think I said that, but I know for a fact I did say that Secret Space 2 was my favorite documentary of all time. That's a little bit different, And it's, I saw that. That was funny. It is true. I don't know if I've still got that saved somewhere. You can probably find it. Yeah, it was. It was just like, yeah, that's a little bit of a blemish there. I'm not mad about it or anything. Hell, like I said, you can say that I like to eat my own turds. Just make sure you spell my name right. It'd be good publicity. I don't really care. But yeah, the greatest documentary film. Come on, dude. Does that really even say like something? Does that even sound like something I would say? You guys know me. I don't think anybody's the greatest documentary filmmaker of all time. I don't think I do. Everybody says Ken Burns is. Fuck Ken Burns. Go back to New Hampshire. Alrighty. Well, so there you go. That was a long answer to the question. I hope I answered your question there about Everart's new movie. Yeah, I'd like to see it, but I'm not going to pay $30 for it. I'm just flat not. Sorry. I got my own movies to put out, got my own bottom line to think about. Put them out for free, whatever. I've just, I'll somebody will torrent it eventually. But that's the whole thing is that, people make copies of my movies and people upload my movies and they take my stuff and they make copies of it and for free. And, we put tons and tons of money that we get from support of our listeners into these films, and we don't make anything back on them. And oftentimes, and in fact, I've thought about not even doing anything. I think the DVDs for the Cigarette Volume 2 are going to be limited run. There's going to be a small amount made, and then that's going to be it. And I'll tell you why that is. And that's going to be the way it is for all my films now. In the future, the only way you'll be able to get my films is for pre-orders, short runs when the films come out, and then they're not going to be available long-term because I've had an exorbitant amount of problems with people not getting DVDs to the point where at first I thought it was, I don't know. At first I thought many things about it, that maybe something was getting lost in the mail, and then it happened, it's happened 5 or 6 times, I think. And people won't get a DVD. I'll send another one out. Then another person will send me a message back and say that they didn't get it again. There's been a couple of people that I've literally sent like 4 DVDs to, and always comes back with those same people that they still didn't get their DVD. And as I've said, these DVDs cost fucking money. And it costs me money I don't have, and I don't have a car. So it's a hassle for me to get somebody to take me to the post office so I can mail these things in the first place. And after you do that 3 or 4 times, and somebody says, well, I still didn't get my DVD, and it's your word against theirs, when in reality, I don't really, because you have, and you buy the DVDs through PayPal, you have 45 days. If you don't get your DVD in 45 days, I have to hear from you before 45 days is up. And a lot of times when people have contacted me about not getting their DVDs, it's always after the 45-day thing is up. So if somebody ever tries to claim, oh, I didn't, Josh Reeves ripped me off or I didn't get my DVD, well, it states, anybody who knows about anything about buying anything online should know, if you're making a purchase through PayPal, you have 45 days. If you don't receive that item in 45 days, you have 45 days to contact the seller and make arrangements. And that never happens. And I just can't afford to send out 3 or 4 or 5 copies of DVDs to people who claim they don't get them and after they've been sent. So I think that probably I'm not going to be going the route of having. Of doing, the DVDs are going to be short run. We'll sell we'll probably sell up to the pre-orders, and then maybe have them for sale for a couple of weeks. Lee Rogers is talking about having setting up an online store and selling a bunch of DVDs too, and he'll probably be selling some of mine over there, which I won't make anything off of because he'll just buy them in bulk or whatever. But yeah, I think that's what I'm going to go to, because I just can't deal with this anymore. I can't deal with people saying that they haven't gotten things and they had when they had it ordered, and we've sent them out time and time again and stuff like that. And I just because the thing about it is anybody can just make anything up. Somebody can just say, oh, well, I didn't get this. Somebody can not like what I do and just make up the fact that they didn't get their DVD, even though they did. And I'm just, honestly, I really don't want anything to do with that kind of stuff, because it's just bullshit, especially after you send something out 2, 3, 4, 5 times and these people still come back and say, oh, they never got it. And then they want to say, oh, this, that, and the other about you. So I'm probably not going to be doing that anymore. I'll just, I'll scrape whatever I can scrape in from you, the listeners, to make these films, and then we'll put them out for free. As long as I've got you know, as long as I've got support to keep the network running and keep the bills paid and keep the films coming, what's it matter to me? You know, I don't, like I said, they're not going to make anything off these movies anyway. And if it's more work to put out the DVDs than it's worth, then did I have the problem with 9/11 New World Rising? Yes. Yeah, actually I did. And that was, and what was strange about that is I put that out before I went on, I put that out before I was even doing a radio show. Yeah, not a lot, not near as much as we had with C-Rut Volume 1, but with 9/11 New World Rising, yeah, especially in Canada. There was a lot of them in Canada we haven't seen. And you know where I've sold the most DVDs at? Strangely enough, the Netherlands. Even before I was on air. I don't know what it is. They must have a statue of me in the Netherlands or something. I don't know what it is. Seriously, I've probably shipped, I don't know, 50, 100 DVDs to the Netherlands. It's crazy. It's insane. The Netherlands, I guess, is just on fire with info. But so, hey, big shout out to the people in the Netherlands. Ever our complaints about Canada? Oh, well, maybe that's it. I don't know. But yeah, it's crazy because it just flat disappears. And the thing about it is, if you want to get all the tracking information and all that, I mean, because I can get tracking information to it, but I don't have the time to do that. Because when I go and mail these, I'm taking in, you understand, I'm taking in like 50 at a time, 75 at a time. In order for me to sit there and get tracking information on it, not only do I have to pay more, but I mean, you're going to be sitting in the post office for an hour, 2 hours. So, you know, again, I don't know. I'm just weighing the benefit versus the cost, and the fact that we don't make anything out of the DVDs anyway. It's just, I think I'm just going to not, you know, just put them up where people can download them. Fuck it. Anyway, we're going to take a break, come back, and get into some more news for you here tonight. Drink your coffee, take your pep pills, do what you got to do. Late night Moonbat edition for you here this evening, folks. And it is going to continue to get moonbatty, so stay with us there. We will be back here in just a few minutes after this. All right, back here with you on the Global Reality Late Night Moonbat edition for you here tonight, and we've got a lot of news to get into tonight, so I want to jump into some of that here for you in this segment of the broadcast. Glad you're staying up late with us tonight, and we've been doing more and more of these lately. That's predominantly when I've been doing the show has been late night lately, and that's just... well, fucked up ass schedule I've been keeping with working on the film and stuff like that. I've just it's just been this has been the time of day that I've been most in the zone to do radio. So, you know, I know for a lot of people that's inconvenient because they don't get to listen live or whatever, and you know you can't please everybody all the time. But for those of you that do stay up late with us and do get to catch it live, thank you so much. And to everybody else who's listening on a rebroadcast or on an archive, thank you so much to everybody out there as well for listening and tuning into the broadcast. Continue to tell people. Again, we've got so many new listeners coming on all the time. It's great. If our network support ever catches up to the amount of new listeners that we have, we'll be doing great. And the people who do keep us alive will have some help. So. Please help those people out. Anyway, let's get into some of the news here for you this evening on the show. Oh, there's a lot. Oh man, I had several here. A lot of these are very well. I'll start with this one. I think this is a huge story, and definitely one that would qualify, at least for me anyway, in my understanding of geopolitics and the global power structure. This to me would be, if I was in charge of the news, I'd have this front page of on everything. Because this story really is, when you understand what it's saying and understand the implications of it, and many of you out there will as soon as I read it, it really, to me, just 100% shows that the power structure has been intimately involved in creating, funding, and putting in power, quote unquote, terrorists and terrorism itself. They have been the ones behind this, and this is a huge story with huge implications. check this out. The London School of Economics, folks. How many times have we talked about the London School of Economics here on the broadcast? I mean, this is where the big banks train their newest and next generation of middle management, people that are going to be running the think tanks, the Royal Institute of International Affairs, the Council on Foreign Relations, the Council for National Policy, any of these groups. London School of Economics Director Sir Howard Davis resigns over Libya links. Now understand, the London School of Economics is intimately connected with Fabian socialism. Of course, the Fabian socialist logo, of course, is the wolf in sheep's clothing. You don't believe me? Look that up. That should tell you all you need to know about Fabian socialism. But Fabian socialism is of course, the predominant power structure ideology. Everything is based on it. The director of the London School of Economics has resigned over its links to Libyan leader Colonel Muammar Gaddafi. Sir Howard Davies said that he recognized the university's reputation had suffered and he had to quit. He said that the decision to accept £300,000 sterling for research from a foundation run by Colonel Gaddafi had backfired. The London School of Economics Council had commissioned an independent inquiry. I mean, my God. Yeah, because, they're telling us Gaddafi's the enemy, but meanwhile, the director of the London School of Economics, the top of the globalist brainwashing power structure, is, buddy-buddy with who they're telling us the enemy is. You see what a big lie this is? But, to me, that's just a massive story. And should be, it definitely should be something that more people should be paying attention to and talking about, other than the crackhead warlock. So I'm just going to call him from now on the crackhead warlock. Unbelievable stuff. 20-year-old American sues FBI for placing GPS tracker on his car. I started hearing about this a while back, and I think that the person that this was happening to may have been a truth person or a truther or whatever. I'm not for sure. I don't know. Yasir Afifi, a 20-year-old Arab American student, is suing the FBI for placing a GPS tracking device on his car and then threatening with charges when he tried to keep it. The lawsuit filed by the Council on American Islamic Relations Wednesday accused Attorney General Eric Holder and FBI Director Robert Mueller of violating Afifi's constitutional rights. The suit, obtained by Talking Points Memo, who else, explained that Afifi, an American-born student at Mission College in Santa Clara who also works as a salesman, was concerned that the device found on his car might be a pipe bomb. After posting photos of the device on Reddit.com, agents came to his apartment in a bizarre mission to retrieve the device and question him, according to the lawsuit. Even after requesting counsel, the FBI agents continued to make demands of Mr. Afifi and interrogate him, the suit claimed. They asked him whether he was a national security threat, whether he was excited about an upcoming but undisclosed trip abroad, and whether he was having financial difficulties, or whether he had been to Yemen and why he traveled overseas, and many other questions. Afifi eventually relented and turned over the device after being threatened with federal charges. One agent named Jennifer Canaan made clear that she knew intimate private details of Mr. Afifi's life, like that he had recently gotten a new job. She also complimented in his taste in restaurants. I mean, yeah, that's how fucking, yeah, that's how arrogant these cocksuckers are. They just throw it in your face that they know everything about you. Oh, fuck you. And they know everything about your ass too. And don't give me that, oh, well, if you don't got nothing to hide, and why are you worried about it? That has nothing, that is not a justification for just, that's what they act like. Well, if you don't got nothing to hide. No, that doesn't work. That's a smart ass answer that's lawyer speak, that attempts to divert the issue onto something. Psychotics do that the most. Psychotics are the best at that. Drug addicts and psychotics, Charlie Sheen types, They love to, when you point something out, they deflect it and try to point it onto something, somebody's beating the hell out of their wife or something. And you go, hey, man, if you don't quit beating the hell out of your wife, I'm going to beat the hell out of you. And they go, shut the fuck up. You're ugly. You're going to go, now, wait a minute. What does me being ugly have anything to do with you about to get your ass whooped for beating on your wife? But you see, that's what they try to do. They try to say, oh, you're ugly. So no, now we're going to focus on the fact that you're ugly and not focus on the fact I'm beating the hell out of my wife. That's what they always try to do with that. You clowns, it's funny because all this stuff, everybody's going to get what they deserve. I think that's the one thing that we can all sleep well at night knowing is that all these motherfuckers are going to get what they deserve. Somehow, some way, and a justice beyond our knowledge, these people are going to get what they deserve. It's all there is to it. But anyway, well, I'm glad to see somebody standing up and suing these fucking clowns. Oh, listen to this. You guys will love this one. The leader of the Tea Party Nation declared Wednesday that House Speaker John Boehner looks like a fool and should be defeated in a primary, tearing into him for not pushing larger budget cuts more aggressively. There's no other way to put this, Judson Phillips wrote on the Tea Party Nation's website. The Tea Party movement should find a candidate to run against John Boehner in 2012 and should set that as a goal to defeat him in primary. Charlie Sheen is now making more sense than John Boehner, Phillips wrote. So Charlie Sheen is now making more sense than the teabaggers, according to the head of the teabagger, or making more sense than John Boehner. Well, that ain't saying much, is it? My God. I just they want every single person focusing in on it. World's sixth mass extinction may be underway, says study from the AFP here. Mankind may have unleashed the sixth known mass extinction in Earth's history, according to a paper released on Wednesday by the science journal Nature. Over the past 540 million years, 5 mega wipeouts of species have occurred through naturally induced events. But the new threat is man-made, inflicted by habitation loss, over hunting and fishing, the spread of germs and viruses in introduced species, and by climate change caused by fossil fuel greenhouse gases, said the study. Evidence from fossils suggests that in the big five extinctions, at least 75% of all animal species were destroyed. Paleobiologists at the University of California at Berkeley looked at the state of biodiversity today using the world's mammal species as a barometer. Until mankind's big expansion some 500 million years ago, mammal extinctions were very rare on average. Just 2 species died out of every million years. But in the last 5 centuries, at least 80 out of 5,570 mammal species have bitten the dust, providing a clear warning of the peril to biodiversity. It looks like modern extinction rates resemble mass extinction rates, even after setting a high bar for defining mass extinction. Well, when Agent Smith in The Matrix talks about humans as a virus, and he's not very far off there. Actually, that whole entire part, where he says, humans are a disease and everything else, and that, the first incarnation of the Matrix was a utopia, but because humans are so programmed, for misery and death and destruction, that they destroyed it. And I don't think that's very far off from the truth, because that's it definitely. I mean, the fix is in. I mean, the evidence definitely points in the direction that yes, like a virus, we were planted here upon the earth, and we have effectively, just like a virus, spread and multiplied and infected the earth like a cancer. But that's only because the people that are at the tip top, the people of the bloodlines that run the governments, that run the military industrial complex, that run the banks, that run the religions, that sit on royal crowns in these hereditary dictatorships. If these people didn't believe that for whatever reason, because of their, believing that they are the direct descendants of the gods, who is to say that if we didn't have that system in place, that we'd be sitting here talking about this or talking about, I don't think that humans have to be a cancer. I don't think that humans have to be a destructive force. I don't think that humans have to be, this parasitic cancer that just, goes in and obliterates everything. I don't think that we have to be that way. But I think that since we do have the potential to be that way, someone has exploited that potential for their means. It's cause and effect. And so when you look at it from a cause and effect standpoint, and then you combine that with the evidence, to me, it's pretty obvious that there has been a very, very distinct focus on creating mankind to really sort of focus in on those negative aspects of themselves. And it does seem that way when you look at society and religion and culture. We've been programmed to do that. We have the potential to be a parasitic entity that, just comes in like a virus and takes over. But we also have the potential not to be that way. Remember, we are in a dualism. We are in everything in our world, in our three-dimensional 5-sense reality is dualism. So if we can all agree that humans have the potential to be a destructive force and a cancer unleashed on any planet it might be unleashed on, and obviously we have the evidence to support that, it would stand to reason that we also have the potential to not be that way. So again, with deductive reasoning, when you figure out that, okay, well, what's causing us to be this way? Why have we been this way for so long? And inherently, it goes back to the hereditary dictatorships, the people that are always in power lying to us, telling, oh, you can be in power too, blah, blah, blah. No, you can't be in power. You can be a lackey to real power and believe you have power, which is what most people who are in power do. Everybody's got a boss, A lot of times the people at the tip top don't know that there's a boss above them. And when they find out, they start to get real freaked out about it. That's that case in point, classic case in point for that is American presidents. It's funny, man. You see these guys. Well, I mean, Clinton, Bush, Obama, all of them. I mean, they come in when they first get elected, and they're just, they're fucking king shit of fuck mountain, man. They're fucking, they're hot shits on Turd Street, right? They're coming in, they're smiling, man. They got a fucking cock in their hand. They're like, yes, I am the president. Then after about a year, you see them, man, they're gray as fuck. Already go, they go in the presidency, they got their hair, they're looking all good. They come, about a year after that, man, they're haggard as fuck looking. Because it doesn't take too long once you become the puppet in chief. It doesn't take too long till you start realizing, oh, wait a second, I don't run a goddamn thing. They just trot me out on cue, turn the cameras on, put the suits on, put the makeup on, put the lights on, put that shits on TV and tell everybody I'm the guy that's making decisions for things they do. So when they need somebody to blame and they need somebody to hate for the state of the world, they blame me, not the people who are above me, who are really controlling me and making me look like I'm the one to blame for all this stuff. Regardless if these fucking guys, and we don't know if they are or they aren't, but regardless if these guys are 8-foot blood drinking reptiles or, gray aliens or whatever else, boy, I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn what planet or universe you're from. That's going to wear on you, you know? You know what I mean? When you come in and, you know, you're all hot shot and cock hard thinking you're fucking, you know, and then you start to realize, oh man, not only do I not run shit, but I've got to take the fucking heat and the blame for everything these fuckers are doing that I don't get a say in or anything else. And that's really what defines the illusion of what is president. And what's interesting about that is that even with presidencies and whatnot, they still you know, choose one of their own to be in that position. Because, and I imagine that at some point, I don't know when, maybe it's, you know, maybe it's once they're, or maybe it's when they're, you know, coming up in the elections, or maybe it's once they win, you know, to be the candidate for their particular party. I don't know. It's all speculation. But I imagine that at some point when these guys are being brought up the ranks, I imagine that they're probably given detailed information on their family history and bloodline and lineage. And I have a sneaking suspicion that that's what keeps these puppet presidents from ever opening their mouths. And that's what keeps this whole system in place, is because, you know, if an Obama or a Bush or somebody like that, you know, after not too long of being in the White House, figures out that they don't run shit, and they're just they're a patsy and they're a fall guy, and they're the guy that's there, the front man to take the blame. You know, I imagine that once they figure that out, that it sure does make it a lot easier for them to keep their mouths shut and go along with it if they're shown proof and evidence that who they're serving and who they're working for is their blood. You know what I mean? And that's what they do. We know they do that in the secret societies, and they do that in you know, these various, again, the divine right to rule. But what's interesting is that a lot of people know about the divine right to rule, right? But they never really question where the divine right to rule comes from. What allows the queens and the kings and all this stuff to be kings and queens? How come their family or their bloodline is more important than yours or mine or somebody else's? And the whole world just goes by day after day, month after month, year after year, with very few people ever really asking that question or wondering why that is. And at the heart of that question is the answer to everything that you may ask about this type of information. The reason they have the divine right to rule is because they are the direct descendants of the people that seeded humankind. And the ones that were made with the most DNA of the gods were the ones that were then called demigods. And they were put in positions of power as priests, kings, queens. And then you had hereditary dictatorship. That's where it started. And then from then on, all the ones that came from those families after that in positions of power could always trace back to the originators. And if the people of the world ever really figure that out, they're not going to like it. Because all of this stuff about freedom, being free, every one of us, I don't care what country you live under or live in, every single one of us are subservient and are pretty much owned, at least our physical bodies, by these people who believe they have a divine right to rule. It doesn't matter if you're from England or from America or from Mexico or from Australia. It doesn't matter, anywhere in the world. The divine right to rule has set up power throughout the world. And, you know, there's just no other way around it. Unless, you know, some renegade biochemist comes up with a race-specific bioweapon to eliminate blue bloods, this system's going to continue. But the thing is now that we have that we didn't have 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 1,000 years ago that we have more now is we now know exactly who the enemy is. We know who they are. We know where they live. We know what they've been up to. So it doesn't require you and I to get up in arms and join the militia or, go instigate armed conflict or storm City Hall with pitchforks. The fact of the matter is, karma's a motherfucking bitch. That's exactly right. Oh, yeah. And we just have to keep identifying the enemy. I thought this for the longest time, and I still believe it. I think that if we continue to identify who the enemy is, what they've been up to, and expose those that try to act as if they aren't the enemy, but yet are working in collusion with the enemy for their own aims, those are the people and the things that we will be exposing. And I think as long as we keep talking about it, and as long as we keep pointing out who the enemy is, eventually somebody somewhere is going to want to do something about that enemy. So don't get caught up in phony revolutions. Don't get caught up in armed conflicts. Don't get caught up in all this bullshit, or don't get caught up in, doing street actions and going, yelling half-cocked things at, hey, Burt Reynolds, 9/11, there's 40,000 engineers inside Thermite Corey Rowe. That's literally, I'm not even kidding you. There are videos I've seen, dude, when that's what it sounds like when people go confront these people about it's just retarded. Half of them can't speak, can't complete sentences, and god damn. Stay your ass at home, man. You're not helping the cause. I know you mean well, but god damn, dude. But it doesn't require any of that. If we continue to identify and dissect and discern who the enemy is and continue to talk about it and inform people of who it is, this stuff will right itself eventually. I know it will. But up to this point, there hasn't been any real researchers or real people who have been concentrated on identifying the enemy, because the people who have been, quote unquote, identifying the enemy for us have been these shills and these gatekeepers who are telling us, this group over here or this people over here are the enemy. Meanwhile, they're hiding and working in collusion with the real enemy. Well, I'll tell you what, no more. And I think it's become very obvious to everybody this week through what's going on in politics, through what's going on in geopolitics of the world, what's going on in the Middle East, what's happening within our government and our country, what's happening in alternative media and all this Charlie Sheen debacle. I think it's become very clear to everybody this week who the enemy is. And I have a feeling that it's not too long from now, definitely before the end of this year, I don't think people are going to be talking much about Alex Jones or Charlie Sheen or, some other radio hosts and figureheads out there. Because, again, the truth will always rise. Regardless of whether I want it to or you want it to or anybody else, the truth will always rise. And that has been where these people have overstepped, because they got into a system of lies and attempted to align themselves against a force much stronger than they ever dealt with. And that is the pure loving energy of the universe that we can all channel through us. We don't have to be, as I said earlier, just because we have the potential to be destructors and cold-blooded killers and all this doesn't mean we have to. But again, we're in the dualism. That means that if we have not yet achieved The rest of our potential being not living on this planet the way we do. Not killing, not destroying. We have just as much potential to be that way as we do to be this cancer on this planet. But guess what? We haven't fulfilled that potential yet. So you know what that means? That means there's still a chance. And as long as there is still a chance that we can turn the human potential around from what it is now into something totally different, and there is, then by God, we have a chance to defeat these people. And I don't think that that's ever been said enough. Maybe it's never been said ever. I don't know. But if we can turn our potential back around from the potential they're trying to get us to be, then we have a shot. So don't you think we should start focusing on that instead of coked out, cracked out buffoons and priest class bozos? We've identified who the enemy is now. Priest class bozos, you know, with these Jesuits and these, I mean, there's a whole laundry list of them. But the fact of the matter is, they are naive to the fact that that there are so many of us out here now who have identified who the enemy is, and they're still trying these same old ops. And now in 2011, there's so many more people that know who the enemy is than there were just a few years ago, that this is severely going to blow up in their face. And I think it already has. But that's why we have to continue to push to identify the enemy. Two things that I think are the most important right now: pushing and continuing to identify the enemy and disseminate that to the people. And number two, to find a way to allow humankind and the human species to fulfill the rest of its potential that up to this point we have not been allowed to achieve. That's it. Folks, support our work if you can. We had to pay the bills this week, and the rest of the cash that we have is going towards the films and stuff from some other donations that we'd gotten. So that doesn't leave a lot left over for other stuff. So we've got to get some support in this week. Use the chip-in banner there for anything. Donate button there for other amounts. Support our work, folks. Let's achieve this. Let's push this forward into the future. Let's make those our goals, and let's do this for humankind. I don't think we have any other choice. My name is Josh Reeves. I love each and every one of you. You guys have a great night. Take care.